Hello everyone, and welcome back to the 3T Path channel, and welcome back to our Uddhava-gita course. Now we're in the middle of a beautiful chapter where Krishna is explaining all the different religions, all the different ideas of what's best to do with life, and trying to set that as a comparison, explain how that fits into what he's trying to explain, the path of yoga, the path of bhakti, how that fits in to this vast world of so many choices we have, so many paths we seem to be available to us, and people telling us to do this and do that to be happy. So he's talking about that. Now if you want to watch all the previous classes, make sure you become a member of this channel, and the instructions are here in the description of the video. And also check out Uddhava-gita.com. The link is also here in the description of the video, where you can have the whole course organized, information of how to see and join and watch the whole course. So let's get started. We are in the 11th canto, 14th chapter, verse 11. So Krishna is speaking. So he says, all the persons I have just mentioned, and that was in the previous class, in the last verse, he mentioned all these different paths people take, all these different ideas of what will make you happy. All the persons I have just mentioned obtain temporary fruits from their material work. Indeed, the meager and miserable situations they achieve bring future unhappiness and are based on ignorance. Even while enjoying the fruits of their work, such persons are filled with lamentation. So this is an interesting verse. He just mentioned all these different choices, and I'll read them to you. He said, some say people will be happy by performing dharma. Others that people will be happy through fame, sense gratification, truthfulness, self-control, peace, self-interest, political influence, opulence, renunciation, consumption, sacrifice, penance, charity, vows, niyamas, regulated duties, or strict disciplinary regulation, niyamas. So he said, look, all these things, right? They sound like good things, right? I mean, charity and doing your niyamas and doing your dharma and doing, and of course being rich, being famous, having political power. I mean, that's what people are all going for, right? These things seem like they're really good. But Krishna in this verse starts by slamming that idea. He says, no, actually, sure, they have some benefit. They obtain temporary material benefits because that's the nature of karma. You do something nice. You do a good deed. You give charity. You perform your dharma. You do, nice things. And what happens? You get a good dharma. You get a good karmic result. Good things will happen. Not next day, I'm going to give charity today and tomorrow. No, it doesn't work. It's the time scales are big. We are eternal beings. So when you're dealing with eternity, the time scale is a little more than, our little minds can sometimes grasp. So, but you will get good results. I mean, generally it's like a next lifetime thing though. You get this life, you'll feel good. But in terms of actual results, it's more of like a next lift, because this lifetime is already the stuff you ordered, asked for, deserved from previous lifetimes. So this lifetime is already kind of like, you have a contract already for this lifetime. That's why, you can do astrology, and people can say, oh, this is going to happen and this, and they kind of give you like palm readings or something. They have some element of truth, because this life is already kind of like hired out. You can screw it up, you can make it worse, but it's, your body is certainly not going to sprout wings, and go off, you're not going to all of a sudden become, if you're a person like me, and all of a sudden going to be like 6 foot, 6.5 foot tall, 7 foot tall, and start playing basketball. These things aren't going to happen. So these things won't change. So, but next lifetime, so Krishna is saying, so these people who do these nice things, they will get, they'll get some temporary fruits. It's going to work. It'll be good stuff. They'll get some stuff. But on a bigger scale, and he's going to talk about this in the next verse, on a larger scale, these are meager and miserable situations. So you might think, oh, but that actor, he's like a Hollywood actor. Oh, wow, she's like a top model. Look, there were pictures of her in Vogue magazine. Look, wow, and there she is having this amazing holiday, or she has this amazing house, somewhere, and look at her amazing husband. We see these things every day, right? And so, wow, looks really amazing, and you're like all envious and stuff. But on a real, like, if you take in reality what Krishna is trying to offer here, on a cosmic, on a transcendent scale, these things are meager and miserable. They're meager and miserable. They're just insignificant for the eternal soul capable of unlimited bliss. These things are meager and miserable, and they bring future unhappiness because they're based on ignorance. Why is all this? Why does it bring future unhappiness? Well, let me just look around, right? I mean, the people you're seeing now are the people that are having these things now. What about the people that had this before? You don't see them anymore, because now their lives aren't so great, right? The top model, she looks amazing now, but she's gonna get, if she does get old, if she doesn't die like a drug overdose or something, or get murdered, we get old, we get all wrinkly and old. Your skin starts getting all weird and flaccid. It doesn't look nice, and your bones and everything hurts, and your joints and your heart and your lung, and it's horrible. So that's, that's not the beauty isn't gonna last. And then the fame, the wonderful actor, and then later that actor has dementia, or now the actor, or the other, kills himself out of depression. So, not very nice. Future unhappiness, like, it's nice now, but it's not gonna work. And if even, but this whole life was good. Yeah, but then there's a next life to deal with. And why is it based on ignorance? Because it's based on the conception of the body, on the illusion that this reality is the final reality. It's based on ignorance. It's based on lack of knowledge of the true nature of the soul, of who I am. So these things are based on ignorance, and they're meager and miserable, and they will bring, and in the future unhappiness is coming. It's guaranteed. It's just like, that's why he called it the wheel of samsara. Why is it a wheel? Because it goes up and down. That's what wheel means, up and down. So the person who's rich, he becomes poor. The person who gets elected gets thrown out of office. It's up and down, and you're beautiful, and now you're ugly, and you're young, and now you're old, and you're rich, and you're poor, and you're sick, and you're healthy. It just goes around. So whatever situation, now it's really good. But yes, it won't be, things are coming, this old age, sickness, and death is coming. So always there's trouble ahead. And then Krishna says, to really hammer the nail in the coffin of these ideas, even while enjoying the fruits of their work. So even at the top, this is really top, everything is great, while enjoying the fruits of their work, such persons are filled with lamentation. And we know this is true as well. And maybe you've experienced this, even when things are really, or you probably know someone like this, you know, they have everything going for them, they have money, they have, you know, their lives are all organized, but they're full of lamentation anyway. They're always complaining, they're anxious. Maybe they have to drink regularly or do other kinds of drugs to like keep going. They have to take, you know, Xanax or whatever, you know, they're either legal or illegal drugs, something to like keep things going because it's so much anxiety and there's fear and there's, you know, still envy. I mean, you could be there, you can have like millions of dollars, but what if my money runs out? You know, and I've got $10 million, but that's nothing. That guy has 100 million, but the guy with 100 million is like, oh my God, I only have 100 million. I'm not even a billionaire. There's so many billionaires. I'm so poor. It's just like 100 million is ridiculous. I mean, you know, that guy there just bought a yacht that's worth twice as much as all the money I have. So I'm so poor with $100 million. And then, of course, the billionaire's like, oh man, I only have 1 billion. It's pathetic. I mean, those guys have 100, 200, 300 billion. I am so poor compared to that guy. I only have 1 measly billion and it's like in stock in my company, my tank, you know, like. So people are never happy. They're always full of anxiety and suffering. So all these things, so Krishna said, look, there's all these other things, but hey, they're no good. They're no good. It's temporary. It's based on ignorance. They're meager results. And even while you're, you know, at the topmost part of it, even then you're filled with lamentation. Purport. Those who have grasped temporary material things, mistaking them to be ultimate reality, are not considered very intelligent by anyone except themselves. Such foolish persons are always in anxiety because by the laws of nature, the very fruits of their work are constantly being transformed in ways neither desired nor expected. The performer of Vedic rituals can elevate himself to heavenly planets, whereas one who is atheistic has the privilege of transferring himself to hell. The entire panorama of material existence is actually uninteresting and dull, manda. One can make no real progress within the material world. It's an interesting comment, right? One can make no real progress within the material world. Like, what? Because you're not going anywhere. It's like a dream. Think of a dream, right? We're always seeing this comparison of life here with a dream. Think of a dream. You're making progress in a dream. What does that mean? Like, do you wake up and say, oh, I made some good progress in that dream. Like, that doesn't mean anything. Like, what? What? You know, it was just a dream. Nothing happened. It's all, it's gone. That's exactly what this is. It's just, it goes. It's gone. Oh, I did this and I built this company. Yeah, then you die and you're born as a cockroach in the building. It doesn't make any difference. And they're like spraying poison. It doesn't make any difference. It means nothing. It was just an illusion. It was a temporary thing. It was a blip in the ocean of eternity. It doesn't mean anything. So you make no progress. You just go round and round. Always feeling anxiety and frustration and fear and just round and round. Therefore, one should take to Krishna consciousness and prepare oneself to go back home, back to Godhead. Now, verse 12. O learned Uddhava, those who fix their consciousness on me. So now this is another thing. So look, there's all those things. Many different ideas, many different paths. But now, there's this thing. So those who fix their consciousness on me, giving up all material desires, share with me a happiness that cannot possibly be experienced by those engaged in sense gratification. What a verse. So look at this. Krishna is saying, look, if you take to the spiritual path, however, if you connect your consciousness with Krishna, with the Supreme Consciousness, if you do, that's connection is yoga, right? We say yoga, yoga is connection. If you connect your consciousness with the Supreme Consciousness, then you will share with me a happiness that cannot possibly be experienced by someone who isn't doing that. And that's why I'm here. 30 years later, that's why I'm here enthusiastically in this process. And probably if you've had a taste, you're going to be in it for the rest of your life too. Because guys, when we have this experience, when you do make the connection, even in a beginning fashion, even in a simple, you're not perfect yet fashion, you experience a kind of happiness that you could possibly experience before you were practicing yoga. And you have it. I mean, it's not even about others. You have it with your own self. You can say, this is me now, this is me then, and the experience and the happiness I'm having now, I couldn't possibly experience when I wasn't practicing yoga. If you have, like me, like a non-yoga part of your life, maybe you were born and you're like a very elevated soul who just from birth you've been experiencing this connection, so my obeisance to you. But if you're like me and you had your like sleeping phase of life where you were spiritually asleep and then you woke up and you're like, whoa, these things are very different. I cannot possibly experience what I'm experiencing now in my previous life. I never did, and I couldn't ever experience it without yoga, without the connection. It's just a fact. People experience this all over the world. All over the world. Throughout history. This is a common, and that's why we stick to it. We stick because you're experiencing something you cannot possibly experience without yoga, without that spiritual connection. So, why is this? It's because the spiritual connection is connecting you with the very source of all bliss, Krishna. God is the source of happiness. It's not that happiness is just like somewhere else and then God gets some of it and you can get some of it. No. God is the source of the happiness. It's like, for us, the sun is the source of light. So the sun doesn't have to get light somewhere else. The light is coming from the sun. And then we get light from the sun. And without the sun, we won't get any light. So the source of happiness is God. So when you connect yourself, then you're directly connecting with the source of unlimited joy. And you're connecting with that joy which is real to your situation as a soul. Whereas the other path here cannot possibly be experienced by those engaged in sense gratification. So what does that mean? That means that you're acting as a body. So sense of the pleasure we get from, again, back to the, materialistic supermodel actor. So that life of my pleasures are coming from my money, my fame, my beach house, whatever. That pleasure just from the body coming through contact with things here in the material world, that's based on, like Krishna says, based on ignorance. It's based on the misidentification of yourself with the body. So that's the problem with it. It's based on a lie. You're not the body. So the whole thing is based on a misconception. So you are thinking yourself to be something else of an entirely different nature, not even someone else, but something else, entirely different from what you are. You're eternal conscious soul. The body is dead matter. It's a different kind of thing entirely. It's a different kind of energy. It's an unconscious energy, matter. You're conscious, you're a person, you're a living, loving person, and now you're identifying with a dead thing, body. As you say, no, a body's alive. It's alive because you're alive and you're inside the machine of your body, but the machine itself doesn't have any life. When a car is driving around with somebody driving it, it doesn't mean the car is alive. It seems there's a driver who's alive inside the car, making it move and do things. Of course, these days they're going to soon be having cars that drive without people, but that's something else. Okay, so just the old-fashioned cars I'm talking about, where you needed a person to drive. So the body is dead. So when you misidentify with the body and you try to take pleasure from matter, so it's a dead body trying to take pleasure from other dead things, not alive. So that process, you can see, is complicated because it's a misconception, it's indirect, it's limited, like Krishna says, it's meager and limited because, you know, like, how much pleasure can my eyeballs extract from reality, you know? How much pleasure can my sense of touch extract from reality? It's limited, right? Like, young sex organ in my tongue and my nose. I mean, there's just like so much you can get out of it. It's quite limited. It's really, you know, you can meditate on this. I've meditated on this for it's really interesting when you stop and think about it, how incredibly limiting it is to try to get pleasure from the body. And we think, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. But it's actually, you know, how far can you go? You can't go that far. If you haven't thought about this, you go on now and carry this idea, you know, it's like, how much pleasure can I get anyway? Let's just say I could, you know, everything's going my way. How much pleasure can I get anyway? I mean, never mind all the suffering, Krishna, like Krishna says. He just said, even while you're getting it, you're full of lamentation, right? Even so, never mind that, like, oh, you're going to the nicest restaurant, but on the way there you get a traffic jam. And you're like, man, this traffic sucks. And then you're going to like have this fantastic restaurant experience, but it sucks getting there. And then of course you have to pay for it, you have to wait for the table, you have to wait for the food to come, and so you're like lamenting, why is this food not here? Why, you know, traffic jam, and oh my God, I have to go to the bathroom, and then you're like thinking, oh man, and I have to pay this thing, and I forgot about the other thing, and then of course the bill comes, and then you're really lamenting, because then you just have now indigestion and a giant bill to pay. So, you know, so like there's all this lamentation all the time, but even just while everything is like, okay, right now, I'm having like the most amazing meal. But how much pleasure can you actually get from that? So think about that. It's like, you know, it's like, oh, this is so amazing, but it's meager. That's why Krishna says, meager. Now, he's like, I don't care how amazing that food is, it's a meager amount of pleasure. It really is. You know, if sex is amazing, yeah, you're having this amazing sex, but you know, it's how much pleasure can you take? It's like there's a limit. It's like this much and that's it. It's not unlimited, it isn't keeping, it's just, that's it. It's limited because of the nature of the endeavor. Of material things are limited. But when you get the pleasure from the soul, you get this unlimited, because then there's no limit. The soul has no limit. God is infinite. As a spark of God, you have access to infinite bliss. There is no limit. The limit is just self-imposed. There is no limit, actually. God doesn't have any limit. He's like, oh yeah, that's all I can have. I get frustrated. No, God is unlimited. And so he's inviting you to look, fix your consciousness on me, share with me. I love this word, share with me. Krishna is saying, look, share with me. Sukham, this happiness. Share with me. I've got unlimited happiness. He's God. Unlimited happiness. And he's saying, share with me. And again, even a neophyte, even like when you're starting your spiritual path, you will experience that even with all my limitations and, even with my consciousness still not fully expanded, even with my attachments holding me down, but the pleasure, the bliss I can experience is much greater, much more all-encompassing and satisfying, much more durable, free of any negative consequences. Very important. It doesn't come with again, like you go to a great restaurant, but then you have to get to the restaurant, you have to pay for it, you have to wait for the food, and then once you've eaten, it's gone, and then you have to digest the food. It comes with all these negative, not spiritual bliss. Not spiritual bliss. Spiritual bliss is just the bliss. It comes with zero negative connotations, nothing afterwards, nothing. It's just all good. So when you experience that, and obviously that's why I'm doing this, after 30 years, and I'm more enthusiastic than ever, because and you'll get it too. And once you get it, you'll go on, and you won't stop anymore either. Because that's what it is. It's just it's right there. And then you want to share with other people, because guys, you're missing out on this thing. That's what I'm doing for 30 years. I'm hey, you've got to check this out. Check this out, because this is really good. It really works. That's what we're doing here. Okay, purport. The actual purport of Vedic knowledge is explained in this verse. The word Vishayatmanam includes those who are cultivating material peace of mind, self-control, and speculative philosophy. But even if such persons rise to the platform of Sattva Guna, the mode of goodness, they do not attain perfection. Because Sattva Guna, being material, is also part and parcel of Maya, or illusion. As stated by Sri Narada Muni, Kim va yogena sakena nyasa swadhyayorapi, kim va shrayobir anyayascha nayatratma pradohari. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is not inclined to award himself even to one who executes the yoga system, speculative philosophy, the renounced order of life, or Vedic studies. Indeed, no so-called materially auspicious process can induce the Lord to reveal himself. Srimad Bhagavatam 4:31-12. What they mean here by this yoga here, mentioned here, is yoga that's yoga and sankhya, just when you're just working on yourself and you're not connecting, there's no bhakti yet, there's no knowledge of God yet. That's what he means by yoga here. So it's a yoga, kind of like an atheistic, a self-centered yoga where you're trying to achieve Atman realization without linking to God, without asking, without connecting, and trying to share the happiness with God. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, one enjoys the happiness spoken of in this verse while associating in one's own spiritual body with the supreme transcendental form of the Lord. The Lord's transcendental form is filled with infinite, wonderful qualities. And the happiness of being with the Lord is unlimited. Unfortunately, materialistic people cannot possibly imagine such happiness, since they are not at all inclined to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's it for today. We'll stop here. I hope you have the rest of your day with lots of peace and lots of love. Hare Krishna.